This morning's sermon is entitled, Should I build a mobile application or should I build a web application? Because it's a question that we get asked a lot. Let's start with a misconception, right? So there is a misconception that having a mobile application in the App Store, in the Google Play Store, is somehow at a premium. Customers will put more value upon it. Investors will think that you're really clever and want to invest in you. Men and women will fall at your feet with adoring eyes. Everybody will want to be at your friend. You'll be invited to all the society parties. None of these things are true. Once you've got that nonsense out of your head, you can then focus on actually what the best channel for your service is. Is it an application on a mobile phone or is it a web application? And by that we mean something that you access through a browser. You can still access it on a mobile phone. It can still be optimized for a mobile phone screen, but you get to it through a browser, Safari, Chrome, that sort of thing. This decision will affect actually the platform that you use to build it. So for instance, Bubble is a web app builder. It is not a native app builder. If you want to build a native app, you can do it on Bubble, but it has to be something called wrapped. We'll get back to that. Otherwise, you need to go to another platform that will spit out an actual native mobile application. And there are a few out there. In fact, I saw a really cool one recently called Arpeggio coming out soon. Watch this space. Let's stay on mobile applications, native mobile applications in the App Store, in the Play Store. What's the best reason for building one? Well, the best reason for building one is that you need to use something inside a mobile phone to make your service work. The most obvious thing would be geolocation, for instance, or maybe you want to access the ability to tap and pay with Apple Pay, or maybe you want to, and this isn't always possible through no-code platforms, but you need to connect yourself to the gimbal, the thing that moves around in the phone and tells you what angle it's at. You cannot do these things with a web application. So if you're trying to use the actual hardware to power up your service, the only way you're going to be able to do that is by building a native mobile app. Now there is some question as to whether having a native mobile app, an app on your actual phone, is going to drive people to use your service more. And that's sort of true. It removes a barrier if they really like your service and they want to use it, and it's on their phone and they can just click an icon and open it, and it's really easy to use. Then yes, they will engage with it slightly more. But that's kind of like 5% of the problem. The other 95% of that problem comes from the value proposition itself. Do they actually want to use the damn thing? And being on the mobile phone, not being on the mobile phone, being a native mobile app or not being a native mobile app is not going to change a bad value proposition. The thing is, the cost to test your value proposition, so to build it and iterate it and test what people do with it, is significantly higher if you're doing that on a mobile app versus a web app. So we can build a web application for a few $1,000s and iterate it for a few $100s, whereas if we were to build a native mobile application, that's tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of dollars for every iteration. You are much slower to test. And so the truth is, if you launch on a mobile application because you think people are going to use it more in some way, they're going to come back to it, you're never going to get to that 5% benefit because it costs you too much money to get there and test that bit. What you do is you build with a web application, you test your value proposition, you iterate, and then once you've got something that really works, it's worth making the investment and hopping to a mobile application, and then you can get that last 5% uplift. And if I haven't put the nail in the coffin of that point hard enough, there is something else you need to bear in mind, which is that most of us don't use very many applications on our mobile phone at all. We use like 6. We use a banking app, a social media app, something like Amazon for buying things, the weather application, and we have a guilty pleasure where we move little jewels around on the screen to win diamonds that allow us to buy costumes for cats. Your mobile phone is a wasteland of applications that you don't use, things that you've downloaded because the growth hypothesis caught your attention. You know, it sounded cool when you read it, but actually when it comes down to it, you don't need to open it every day. Oh, and by the way, that's a really, really good point. If you are a business that sells something once, you know, people come along and buy one course off you and they watch the course and then they go away, or you're just selling a product, you're selling, I don't know, swimming pools. Somebody's going to come and buy a swimming pool, they'll buy it once, but they won't buy like 10 swimming pools, they won't buy a swimming pool every month. You do not need a mobile application. What you need is an online shop. So having hammered the fact that really there is only a very specific use case for a mobile application, what's the benefit of a web application? Well, the first and foremost benefit is cost, as I've mentioned. They're just really cheap to build now. The second benefit, which is really, really important in the early stages of a startup, is they are really easy to find. You know, when you want to find something, you go to Google, you type in thing and it takes you to a thing. You stick a link in an email, you send it to somebody, they click on it, you go to the thing. It's got a really easy to remember URL. They type that into a browser, they go to the thing. You can drive vast amounts of traffic to a web page. You cannot drive vast amounts of traffic to an application. The App Store is terribly optimized. If you want to find something, you want to find your app, it's going to get buried at the bottom of the App Store. People aren't going to happen across it. And literally the only way of getting people to do it is to add another step in a journey. So you type a thing into a browser, a page comes up. On the page it says, hey, this isn't the thing. You need to now go to the App Store and buy the thing. So as we all know, every step you put in a sales journey, you're going to lose vast percentages. You know, 80-90% of people are going to stop clicking at every click. So if you're adding another step in that journey, you're just going to lose so many people that could have been buying your application, using it and giving you valuable data about how they value what you do. And this brings me back to wrapping a web app. When we are building MVPs and we're launching something to test it on a mobile, even if we need access to the stuff inside the mobile, so the wallet, the notification system, the geolocation system, we do that by using a thing called a wrapper. And what that is effectively a mobile app itself, which takes a browser-based web app and translates the hardware into the website, so that we can bridge the gap for very little money. In fact, that costs, I don't know, less than $1,000. It's not expensive at all. So the correct approach for an idea stage founder: build the web app, get loads and loads of people coming to it because it's really cheap to do that. Test how they use your application, test what they value in your proposition, find out how much they're willing to pay for it, how often they come back and use it, and do all of that for less than $10,000. Then, when you want to test the final bits of the puzzle, you know, what uplift do I get from putting this in the App Store? Do I get more customers? Do they use it more often? Then, only once you've got everything else right, do you wrap your application up, launch it on the App Store, do another test, and finally, if people really, really want the App Store version, if there's huge value in it, then go spend the tens of thousands of dollars to build an actual native mobile app. Sometimes I like to finish these videos with a little story, and so I'm going to do that with this one. I'm going to talk about ParentPay, the little web app that could. So ParentPay is the thing that we use here in the UK to pay for our children's lunch money and to pay for them to go on trips. It is an enormously powerful value proposition. It brings you back to the application all the time, because if you don't go back to the application, your children starve and they become social pariahs. By the way, if you're trying to figure out how you fit starving children into your own value proposition, stop right now. That's not a good road to go down. Anyway, ParentPay's growth hypothesis, or their growth proposition, was somewhat different. They had to win the hearts and minds of school districts, and that's a big gamble. So they built their web application, which would enable processing payments, and they went around schools and showed it to the school districts, and the school districts liked the idea of having that system in place. It was secure, it was scalable. So everybody has to use ParentPay. They did not launch a web app. They did not launch a mobile app. If you went onto ParentPay on your mobile phone, up popped an icon that said, save this URL as a shortcut to your home screen. And you know what? Everybody did that. Everybody did it. Everybody had a ParentPay shortcut on their home screen, which opened up the browser and showed you ParentPay and enabled you to buy the kids some lunch. That is a value proposition overcoming the very, very small step of getting people to save a shortcut to the home screen, the value proposition is powerful enough to keep bringing you back to the app. After some time, they put the application on the App Store. They built and released an App Store app, and it was slightly easier because you didn't have to save a shortcut. If your value proposition is good enough, people aren't going to give a flying hoot about you having a mobile app or not. They will just save a shortcut, like they did with Parent Pay. Anyway, if you want to learn more about web applications, mobile applications, and the cheapest way to test your growth and value hypothesis and get to market and become a winner and have everybody think that you're cool, contact us at millionlabs.co.uk or email us at hello@millionlabs.co.uk, and we'll be happy to speak to you because we're nice. Bye.